We are at Chodzież masterclasses, and today we have a great opportunity because today we have a masterclass from Berkeley. Kevin Harris, hello.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, I'm great, and I want to say thank you for first day of masterclasses. It was so interesting, and I think will be interesting to talk about what we are doing today to other people.
Sure,
yes.
Sure.
Tell us what are you starting about? What are you thinking to talk about, and how is changing? Because it was stream,
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because everybody asks something, and this is a question, and I think a little bit another direction.
Right. Well, it's interesting because I have the opportunity to do a lot of clinics and a lot of performances. I feel like it's important to be a performing artist, but also an educator. Today, like many of the clinics that I've given kind of throughout the year, half of the clinic is what I feel like is important to an artist, what they need. And then the other half, I ask them, what are some things you guys want to work on? What are some things you want to cover? What's important to you? So today, this morning, they asked questions about harmony. They asked some great questions about reacting.
Yeah.
There were some pretty intuitive questions about how do I create and sound more like myself instead of like someone I've been listening to. Really great, important questions. So of course, these are the type of questions it takes a little while to answer, but they're not impossible to answer. And so these are some of the things we were getting around to. Another great thing about this clinic is that a lot of those questions can't be answered with words. It's like the minute they ask them, it's like, okay, where's the piano? Where's the bass? Where's the drums? Where's the vocalist? Come on, let's get on stage.
Go and practice.
Yeah, the only way to answer these questions is to start to play. And the minute we do that, of course, we start to answer questions and then we run out of time.
I noticed that a lot of them was so scared before, but then they're going to the stage and starting, and it's a different thing when you're starting practicing.
Exactly.
Because you have some inspiration. I say, okay, I feel the groove. Yeah.
That's right. And you know what's interesting that happens? Every single place that I have the opportunity to do that, it's always like that. People are shy at the beginning.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the year, let me get this right. At the beginning of the year, I played the Blue Note in Beijing. After that, I did a week in Korea with some great musicians from Boston. And every time we did a clinic, it was quiet. But by the end of the clinic, we were dancing, singing, shouting, and we always go over time. It's supposed to last 2 hours. 3 hours go by, we're still dancing, having a good time. And the same thing happens. There's another great bass player at this festival. His name is Ehud Etun.
Yes, he is gorgeous.
So Ehud has a wonderful program in Miss P. Ramon in Israel. And I went there, and we did the same thing at his program, same thing. There was another one I went to in Peru, same thing. China, again. We're human beings, we're kind of scared to express ourselves at first, but then we're reminded that everybody is just as scared.
Yeah.
And everybody's
no matter how many time you spend with that.
Exactly. And also feeling the joy from another person helps you to come out of yourself. Before I sat down with this interview with you, you sit down and you already have a very positive personality. So it's easy for me to just talk and respond.
Yeah.
And music is kind of the same way.
It's like connection.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's the first rules, I think, in every profession.
That's
it's
right.
No matter what
That's
is
right.
that. So we are talking about how to create something new. It was the questions as well, and it's a good answer that we put something from another one people and mix something else for us. Yeah. Advice, please, some musician. Yeah.
Oh.
Because I know they are sit and say, what he is saying, and we need some time to writing.
What? Turn that off. Turn that off. Turn on the soccer game. No, so the question that was posed, a very intelligent, intuitive question, was how do I, as a young artist, become more and more like, how do I start to express myself and not sound like
before.
Wynton Kelly or Bill Evans. Now, I don't want to sound exactly like Bill Evans. You know, it's an interesting question. For myself, I posed the same question to a lot of my heroes that are still alive. The answer for many of them, and I mean many of them, is you actually, at one point, you have to sound like them. In order to become and develop your own sound, you have to do so much. If, for example, some of your favorite piano players, Kevin, are Bill Evans, Thelonious Monk, and Bach or Chopin.
Yeah, even them.
Maybe those four. So the question is, Kevin, how much have you studied Chopin? How much have you studied the harmonies? Maybe you're not a classical musician. Maybe you're not a performer of his music. But how much do you understand how his music works and functions? The same thing goes for Thelonious Monk. How much have you listened to it? How much of the theory? How much of this? What does Thelonious Monk do on a dominant chord? What does Chopin do on a dominant chord? What does all this mean? How much have you studied it? How much have you learned how to imitate them? This is what was told to me. And then the next question is, how well do you combine Bach with Thelonious Monk?
Whoa.
And most people do that. They go, whoa, what do you mean? There's no way. That's never been done before.
Why not?
Exactly. Why not? And some of the greatest artists. The reason Thelonious Monk who he is because he said, why not? Bach is who he is because he said, why not?
And this is the main rule, I think.
It's a very important rule where we must obey the rules, for me at least. You must learn them, you must study them. Not weeks, not months, but years.
Yeah.
And
not 1 year.
Yes, not just 1 year too. But the combination of them, you have no idea what you'll become. Maybe it'll take you 2 years, maybe it takes you a month, maybe it takes me 5 years. But we arrive.
But it's your road.
You continue to arrive. You don't really arrive. You just continue to. Hopefully this isn't too non-tangible for your audience. Hopefully it makes sense, you know. But and if it doesn't, they can send me an email or something. I'll try my best, you know.
Yeah, and we are starting this master classes with gospel. It's as well interesting.
Gospel, yeah, yes. Gospel, yeah. Specifically for me, growing up, I'm from Lexington, Kentucky, and I grew up on the north end of Lexington, where there's a large African American community. Probably the most black folks live in the north of the city, and I grew up every Sunday going to church and listening to that music.
It's a natural for you. Yeah?
Yes, it's cultural, you know.
Yeah.
And for me, it's very, very important. Even to this day, what I play, for people who are really listening, they go, wow, you know, you sound like you grew up in church. Do you play? or people say, I can tell you've been listening a lot to the blues also, because of course black gospel music and the blues have a lot of commonalities.
So if we start to talk about your childhood, of course a lot of information about you in internet, I find that, but it's interesting to talk with you about that. Yes, that time you are first met music, I think, in that way, yes?
Yeah, when I was
and
a kid.
You understand that only piano or maybe another instrument was in your life first before the piano?
The trumpet was my first instrument.
Whoa!
Yeah, it was.
Really? Are you practicing now or not? You have no time?
No, not at all.
But it was the start of the way, yeah?
Yes,
okay.
I did play the trumpet in junior high. I played the trumpet in high school. I even had a scholarship in college to play it. So I took the instrument seriously, but I never had the connection with the trumpet like I do the piano.
And when you feel that you need to play piano, it was by chance, or maybe someone inspired you?
Yes. I started the piano when I was 14, which is a little bit later. Some people would consider that. They would consider that later. The reason I started, there was a wonderful gospel piano player who was also my band director when I played the trumpet.
Whoa.
His name was Charles Little. He's still around, still inspiring, still teaching. And to see him teach with so much love and passion and understanding, to where he not only wants you to become a great piano player, but he wants you to become a responsible human being, an honest human being. And he wants you to learn these things through music. And the minute I started to understand and see him teaching many people in that sense, and them learning those things, then I first knew I wanted to be a teacher. I knew I wanted to be a professional piano player later.
Yeah.
I saw him teach and his impact on other people. I go, I want to do that. So I went to school. I got my undergraduate degree in education. And then that's when I said, oh, wait a minute, I love the piano too. I need to do this too. So, but all of that pretty much started, the inspiration started with him. He was a black gospel, is a black gospel pianist and organist. Yeah, just a wonderful individual. Wonderful.
Yes, now talking about Berkeley, because every know this great university, I can say that. It was your dream to be there or not? It was
actually no.
No.
It wasn't.
Oh. How it happened?
My dream initially was just to be able to play the piano and teach and be happy about it.
Okay.
I had a cousin who lived in Boston. He said, "Why don't you audition for the New England Conservatory of Music, which is a smaller school, mostly classical. The capacity is maybe 900 to 1,000 students, I think. Don't quote me on that, okay? But there is a jazz department and a contemporary improvisation department, much smaller, maybe 150 to 200 students. So I auditioned for that program, and I was accepted to that program. I was accepted to some others, but that one I wanted to go, because Boston was full of so many musicians.
Yeah.
And I'm going to this school and I'm looking around and I see bass players and drummers, everybody. It's like musicians' heaven. Yeah. And so I was attracted to the city and also to the school. The school had a graduate program. It was one of the few graduate programs where all of the classes were jazz. There are many jazz programs where you have to learn, where you have to continue to take European history, European theory, but this is one of the few jazz programs where it was just jazz, which made sense to me. So anyway, to be long in my answer, I ended up going to there in Boston. I graduated in 2000, a while ago.
Whoa.
And I started teaching at Berkeley in 2011. So much later.
Yeah, but sometimes musicians tell me, even it's so hard to complete the two things, to have a concert around the world and to teach, yes? Because if you are teaching, you need to be with your students and teach there. And it's so difficult. How will you complete it?
It's funny you asked that question. A lot of it has to do with kind of like what you were talking about earlier. You yourself balance many things in Ukraine. You travel, you come here, we say wearing different hats. I don't know if the same thing exists in Ukrainian. But in the sense where I travel, I perform at these places that I mentioned, but when I go back, teaching is very important to me. Being able to keep a sense of balance and being able to do makeup lessons also is very important. As soon as I get back, I owe my students that time, and they know it.
Yeah. And now a few words about your jazz trio. It's interesting for us to tell about that and the program you are prepared.
You know, it's funny. The name of my group is called the Kevin Harris Project, and the reason I call it that is because sometimes it's a trio, sometimes it's a duet, sometimes it's like a big band.
Yeah.
A majority of the time it's a trio because, or sometimes a duo. The majority of the time it's one. It's an affordable. It's easy for people to pay 3 musicians as opposed to 5. Also, the idea of being able to communicate with musicians and imitate some of my own heroes. Some of my favorite groups are trios. You know, Thelonious Monk Trio, one of my favorites.
Yeah. One
of the more contemporary groups, Danilo Perez, his trio. Yeah. One of my favorites.
I saw lots of articles that you are talking about him.
He was also my teacher at the New England Conservatory. So that kind of coming to Boston and having this new world, not new world, but the
Another one, maybe.
Another world
Yeah.
introduced to you. Daniel was a big part of that. And also Fred Hirsch, pianist, wonderful pianist in New York, who just plays beautifully. Those two pianists kind of opened up my world in a new way too. So once again, Fred Hirsch, his trio, trios like this, they inspire me. I want to explore like those guys do.
Yeah, about CD, a few words.
My latest CD is called Bird Interpretations. It's the music of Charlie Parker.
Oh, yeah.
And his nickname was Bird, as many of your listeners already know. And in the same way that Charlie Parker took the music before him, studied it well, and as a result created kind of this new type of music called bebop, along with other musicians like Dizzy Gillespie, Monk, Bud Powell. In the same way that he created these new ripples, you know, like a stone hits the water and new ripples affect you and they affect me. With this new album, I'm trying to take his music and do different things with it to create a new stone in the water, you know, new ripples. So they're my interpretation, and hopefully they affect other people, and hopefully, you know, if your listeners so choose, please go check it out.
Yeah, we check it.
Listen. Cool. Check it out, and
because I think it's the best way to understand musician. A lot of time I have opportunity to talk with musician about music, but I have one thing that it's better to listen to his music, because music every time tell much more. That's
right.
Because it's emotion and you feel that. It's not word, but energy and emotion.
It's so true. It's so true. Even now, I must admit, I'm a little, what's the word? Apprehensive to pick words, because words can never describe what we can say with music, in my opinion.
Oh, so
I can try.
Happy people.
I can try, but even talking to you right now, it's a great opportunity that I appreciate, but it's hard to express exactly what I'm feeling with words sometimes.
You need a piano.
And piano too. I think it was Nina Simone who said, you know, it's our duty, it's our obligation as artists to be able to express the times that we live in.
Okay, and now I want to back a little bit to Chodzież and these master classes, because it's important to talk about working here, about people who are coming, and about one more question was at our master class. It's about daily routine. It's easy to talk about this here because we are together, we are on the way on direction jazz music, we inspired each other, but when we come home we have some job, some problems, real life, not like this.
That's
we are like in paradise, have a lot of musicians, do
great
what
food,
you want,
nice weather,
and lakes and everything,
right.
But when you are at home and you are alone, it's another thing when you are a young musician and really you are scared, and sometimes you are sad because you do something and don't see the results. What can you advise to them? How to do this routine, not so routine, I mean like in mood.
Right. You know, one of the things that helped me and continues to help me is just to know that my heroes dealt with the same thing. They feel the same way. You know, at one point once again, going back to Thelonious Monk.
Okay.
For Thelonious Monk to sound so individual, there was only one monk. There were a lot of people who say, Monk, check out Monk, you know. That's who. But there were a lot of people who said, that guy's crazy. You don't want to sound like that. He can't play. There were a lot of people who said that. But he kept consistent, day to day, every day. He developed his own sound. People say, no, you don't play like that. but he
know what he doing.
was persistent, you know. And I think to the younger listeners, and this is advice I should continue to practice myself.
What is
be able to persist.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going. It's great that you have people in your life that know what they're doing, that are helping you, like mentors. You know, the advice that they give you, just persist. There's going to be a lot of people that tell you, no, I can't.
It's a normal, yeah.
The one voice that's going to tell you the most that you can't do it, a lot of times, will be your own. It'll be your voice. That's the one you need to listen to, you know. But anyway, hopefully this makes sense.
Yeah.
Persist.
What is the main credo in your life?
Creed. Oh, there are a few.
Mm-hmm.
There's one. There's one by Henry David Thoreau. He wrote a great book called Walden. He's an American philosopher and writer and author. I can't remember it word by word, but I'll try to paraphrase.
Okay.
I know of no greater fact than the encouraging fact than man's unquestionable ability to elevate his life through conscious endeavor.
Yeah.
It's easy to paint a picture or carve a statue, but it is far more greater to carve and paint the very medium through which we look. If you see that you can't do something, if you see something is difficult, then paint and carve it until you can do it.
Yeah.
It's a world of either you can, paint it the color that you'd like it to be, carve it the shape that you would like it to be. That's Henry David Thoreau. Yeah. There's another one. He's an English writer. Henry David Wesley, I believe is his name. He wrote a poem called Invictus. Mm-hmm. Invictus means unconquerable. Unconquerable. And it was also a poem that Mandela memorized, and it was on his prison wall when he was at Robben Island. And it's not a long poem, but it's out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the frail clutch of circumstance, I have not winced or cried aloud, but under the bludgeons of chance, my head is bloody, but unbowed.
Whoa.
No matter how straight the gate, how charged with punishment the scroll, I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
Whoa, thank you for inspiration. I think inspired will be all people there. Thanks.
So that's one of mine. Those are two of mine. I have more, but
to the main,
yeah.
And the last, what is biggest dream in your life in music?
That's a hard question.
Yeah, I know.
All right, hit pause. Let me see.
Yeah.
It's kind of the biggest goal.
Sometimes I think it's changing, because our road is so long.
This is very true.
But
very
I
true.
think it's the best thing. What is now the main for you?
Because
like step to step.
I see you a year from now, it'll be totally different. So I'm glad you rephrased the question for me. Thank you.
Okay.
Right now, I feel like the important thing is to continue to grow. Lubov, to your point, if you had met me 5 years ago, maybe I would have said something like, to at least be able to play and function with musicians every time I travel. Maybe it's to learn a certain amount of tunes so I won't feel...
It's like a period, circles.
Yes, that's what I would have said then. And it's still important, those things now. But I want to be able to continue to grow. If you hear me next year and you say, Kevin, I remember you were working on this, and I hear that it sounds pretty good now. You know, what you were doing, it sounds better. You got it. That's my goal right now. Just to have improved, you know.
So thank you so much,
You're
and
welcome,
waiting
Lubov.
for the next lessons, next master classes.
Same here.
Thank
Same
you.
here. Bye.